you just mentioned one of them. Now, it's a thing to set up a fund, the intervention fund I think you're referring to. It's one thing to set up the intervention fund, and it's another thing to create a roadmap, a road leading to accessing it. Now, the small and medium enterprises are not able to access it. We need to take the barriers out of the way, because again, if they need to use the cooperative societies to come together in one single, because again, the CBN is not into charity. When they want to release funds, they want to be sure that the money we're releasing is going to be used for the purpose it was meant for, and there will be returns in terms of economic development. I think the way it is presently constituted, the SMEs are not having good access to these funds. Maybe because of size, maybe because of the kind of knowledge they've got in terms of funds. You'll be surprised that some people do not even know that a fund like that exists. How much of promotion has been done to make them aware that actually we can do this for you if you do this. So I think a lot needs to be done in terms of implementation. Like any other project in this country, implementation is very key.
What do you think of the CBN's policies? They're implementing a lot of them now.
Well, the TSA, for instance, which is to get all the funds put into a single unit, is a good policy, especially now that we're kind of broke, according to Mr. President. Now, in a situation like this, you want to make sure that you've got you know exactly what is coming in and what is going out. You want to make sure you plug all the leakages because you don't have so much. So the little you have, you want it to go very far. That's one of it. Another thing the CBN is doing now is about the BVN, which is very good to curb leakages, to make sure that things are done in the proper way in terms of movement of money from year to year. We want to know who is moving what. However, I also know that corruption does not just start with one man. Corruption is more than one person, or more than a set of people conniving together to work towards doing whatever they want to do. Now, I think the end point is still the fact that we need to get educated. We need to put out there a lot of education into people to say, look, love this country, keep away from things that are not good, keep away from things that will plunge this country further down in the pit.
So you approve, you actually agree with the idea of the TSA, but do you also agree with the Forex restrictions? Because some people believe that it's not enough to ban things. You also have to ensure that there is a local alternative. That also needs to be driven by a separate policy.
That is correct. Now, but I think when we start innovations, you don't expect everything to come together just in the first day. And I just mentioned before that the TSA is having a bit of a problem. Now, forex restriction also falls into that category. Even though the government has restricted protection on some items, I don't think it's going to be a long-term thing. As we go along, we get to know more, we get to understand more the impact of these policies, and I think from there, we begin to de-emphasize some areas of the policy. That's how policy works. The first thing is everyone is affected. However, as we go along, some people will be exempted from the restrictions, and some people will have to just go with the restrictions. And be that as it may, there are some things that are quite not together when you look at it. Importation of toothpick, for instance. That is a bit of, given the fact that we are not having so much of dollar sitting down anywhere, to now spend the little you have on some products, I don't think is right. We have to do the right things. That is what I think is at the moment.
Well, what some think is the right thing is ensuring that we develop capacity indigenously first and foremost before we put restrictions in bringing in some of those items, which they think we haven't done.
Yeah, but I mean, Chamberlain, I'll tell you about. I mean, when the government, the coalition government of David Cameron and Nick Clegg came to power, it was at the peak of recession, if you remember, 2009, 2008, 2009, and the government decided, to say, look, we're going to have to cut from all ministries. We're going to cut from all ministries. And at the time, the local government was like saying, look, well, if you want to cut from all ministries, you're cutting too fast and too deep. And they stuck to their gun because they knew their own policy was going to work. And I think here also, we have to start from somewhere. Now, for some reasons, the government has come up with the items they want to restrict, they've come up with the way they want to do things. However, they must have thought about it deeply. And as they go along, like I said, they will begin to realize, look, this one, we don't need to do it. That is one we need to do. They emphasize some areas of the economy and make some areas to go through restrictions.
Yeah, but Dr. Adebisi, people will say there are two different things there. At that time, it was spending cuts that they were focusing on. But here, there are restrictions on bringing in certain items, which they also think, wait a minute, there's a lot of challenge here. Because you talked about inadequacies in some areas, such as power, which needs to be fixed, develop infrastructure, the road infrastructure. All of those have got to be put in place, or at least be seen to be in accelerated mode before some of those policies take full swing.
It is known everywhere in the world that when you put in new policies, I mean, we're going to have factions of the economy who are disadvantaged because of the policies, and they will say, look, you need to do this, you've not done this before, you did that, and stuff like that. Nigeria is not an exemption. That's my point. Nigeria is not an exemption. Now, we need to increase production. We need to work at developing these products in the country. And for God's sake, I mean, there's nothing saying that even when we start producing some of these items, that we can meet local demand. So I think at the end of the day, as we go along, I mean, some of these products, nobody's going to die for not using toothpaste.
All right.
So we have to just...
Let me ask this before we wrap up. Do you think at the moment that we are highlighting our key strength as opposed to our weaknesses?
I think at the moment that we don't have a good policy direction. So, I mean, if we have a good policy direction at the moment, then you can talk about highlighting the key strengths and the sort. Now,
all right.
Unfortunately, the government has not actually highlighted which way we're going in this particular. I mean, we see the body language that is working. However, we don't see the policy direction just yet, which is one of the things I'm looking at to see where is this government leading us. I'm sure somebody knows about that, and at the point to come to view.
All right, then. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Oleke Adebisi, Governance and Public Sector Reformer. And we will
Thank you very much.
We'll be back in a moment, everyone. Don't go away.